This was, in a sense, a very different kind of movement. I mean, some people kind of draw parallel between similar movements elsewhere, like we had in Bangladesh or Nepal. But I think Indian case is Indian case. I think we should not overgeneralize it. Opposition parties did the right thing. They kept themselves away because immediately lots of people were suspecting that this is particular party's game. And we saw that that was not really the case. And after NTA came, they abolished JNU test.
Right.
JNU test was working very well.
Yeah.
And this has been working ever since JNU came into being. The University of Hyderabad also had, IITs have their own tests. So these institutions should have their own autonomy. Most importantly, this movement saw participation. Large number of women came into it. So I think this kind of gender divide was also broken. If the social media was not there, this movement wouldn't have been there. Just because you happen to be a big officer or a big manager or a politician or a member of parliament, you don't become any different.
Right.
It's only in a country like India that we give them so much of privileged kind of identity. We think that younger generation is not reading books. That's also not true. They are reading. They are absorbing a lot of information, lots of opinion. This was, in a sense, a very different kind of movement. I mean, some people kind of draw parallel between similar movements elsewhere, like we had in Bangladesh or Nepal. But I think Indian case is Indian case. I think we should not overgeneralize. It was not simply Gen Z, and they also had their own social context. And given that it was happening in the national capital, and these were children of people who had voted for the current establishment to power, and I think that carried a lot of weight. And given that they were also coming from all classes, but mainly from the mainstream of what we would call as mainstream of urban India, and that also in North India, and that also in national capital. And I think that carried a lot of weight. Yes, I mean, it is the way it has been able to politicize a whole young generation. And that politicization is not confined to the city of Delhi, to certain kind of section of society which participated in the movement. I think it has spread across, and lots of other people who were uncomfortable with the regime, who were feeling kind of that their position in society being marginalized, they also began to identify with it. And I think most importantly, this movement saw participation. Large number of women came into it. So I think this kind of gender divide was also broken, and at some level there was a kind of mood of celebration there, that we are all together and we can together in some sense fight the regime. We can achieve our demands, and the demands are very kind of basic, elementary, that they want fair education, they want tests that are not leaked. So I think these were very, very minimal kind of questions. But there also the regime was kind of not really taking it very seriously. So I think that's what was the most significant thing. I don't think there was a violence. I don't think movement created any violence. I think that's a misconception.
The police violence, I mean.
Yeah, they just went on a march, and this march was perhaps not acceptable to the regime, and the regime didn't expect so many people turning up. So yes, I mean, Lathi charge created a situation where more people responded. It became sensational. Media began to cover. Social media, in some sense, saw it as an opportunity to spread itself. But I think more importantly, the way it connected with younger generation, right? One was obviously the social media platforms, Instagram and others, which were kind of spreading like wildfire. But also the number of people who turned up for the march. Earlier, there were very few people coming to the Dharna site, but then suddenly, people were obviously following it. And the moment they thought that now we are required, they turned up. And the regime doesn't have the experience in a sense of dealing with these things. They thought that this also, once they kind of use their lathis, they'll disperse and then nobody will come back. So I think that was a miscalculation. If they had allowed them to come over, started communication with them, open communication channel. So these are not people who are kind of, from some terrorist organizations. These are young kids who are most of them, it was the first time that they were doing something like this. No, they did try. I mean, regime tried its best. It's not like regime was not trying, but they were kind of immediately, hitting back. So I think they had picked up their template from the farmers movement, that we would not allow the mainstream media, Godi media, and they kind of boycotted. Since they were boycotting, that media didn't really matter to them. If rest of the world, if they wanted to know about this movement, they would go to social media rather than watching any mainstream news channel, because they themselves kind of distance themselves from that. So that propaganda did not work. Yeah. So that is the stage of communication. I mean, that is the central point. If the social media was not there, this movement wouldn't have been there. To begin with, it was kind of Instagram following of the leader, Dipke, that gave it visibility. Certainly people were surprised, and they were also surprised that, so how come, nearly more than 2 crore people became followers of Cockroach Janata Party in just a couple of weeks. So I think it is a kind of movement of new age, where the platform for coming together, for connecting, is a different kind of platform. Yeah, I think it's building up for last 3-4 years, particularly the cases of what is known as vote chori, and that somehow people took seriously. And I think there is likewise on entrance exams, these things have been happening. People have been getting frustrated, given that young people have been killing themselves. So the anger was building up. And then there is a sense that, popular movements don't matter, protests don't matter. And then also there are kind of various rumors or, stories coming of corruption of various kinds. So I think it was building up, and it obviously comes together at a particular moment. In case of all movements, this is what happens. Young people are feeling hopeless. They're educated, not getting jobs, and instead there is kind of crisis that now AI is coming, whatever jobs are there, they are also going to be lost. And earlier there used to be lots of open jobs available. Government companies would advertise jobs, there would be entrance exams. Now only UPSC and a couple of other platforms are left. So young people are struggling, and the corporate sector has also realized that if you give low wages, people are still willing to work. So I think that squeeze has also made a difference. One, obviously, Ambedkar was very significant, and to me what surprised was the identity of Dipke, right? And I thought that, when his identity became public, that he comes from a Dalit background, lots of people will kind of unfollow him, or he would not have following. And I realized that didn't matter. And this was a new moment for Indian Republic, that we are willing to identify with somebody irrespective of caste, irrespective of gender at some level, irrespective of region where they come from. Wangchuk also comes from marginal kind of region.
Right.
Ladakh, he's perhaps also, his community is listed among scheduled tribes. So I think that was a very, very important kind of turning point, where Indian public or younger generation is not looking for caste identification as the source through which you enter democratic politics. So these are young people, they have similar experience, they all live in cities, they all struggle in more or less in the same manner, and they are asking for democracy. There was this slogan, jab darta hai, Hindu Muslim karta. So the point of bringing the Hindu Muslim to the center stage of the protests, like this, the Muslim boy was also participating in langar, and there were Sikhs and Bangla Sahib Gurdwara, all these things. Gurdwaras. So that idiom of Indianness which we had known during the freedom struggle, that comes to the center stage, and the idea of secularism, that it belongs to everyone. We are not a kind of theocracy, we are not a country of one particular religion, faith.
Right.
We are a country of citizens, and they were saying that we are also citizens. We are not just masses of people. We are citizens. We have our own notion of ourselves as equal. So that's why there was a complete absence of reverence for political class. And I think that was very, very critical, because this is required. If a democracy has to function, then everyone has to behave like every other person, right? Just because you happen to be a big officer or a big manager or a politician or a member of parliament, you don't become any different.
Right.
It's only in a country like India that we give them so much of privileged kind of identity. So this generation has been able to break that culture of reverence, and they are talking to them on equal terms. See, the movements are, as I've written in my piece also, they're just moments.
Right.
And those moments open up many possibilities.
Yeah.
So it can also turn things into much worse, right? So, but it has opened up possibilities which lots of people had thought that now India is gone forever and it is going to become a particular kind of country where it is going to be difficult to live, for minorities to live. So I think that myth has been broken, and now it depends on how politics is played out in the streets, and would there be a new kind of politics. Some people are saying that this age of political parties is over. Now people will begin to mobilize themselves, like this movement happened suddenly from somewhere will come up. So we don't know how will it change, but things are going to change, right? The world is going to be different because it has already become different. The fact that we are talking, you would be conveying it to the popular media, so news travels much faster. So at some level, we think that younger generation is not reading books. That's also not true. They are reading. They are absorbing a lot of information, lots of opinion, lots of conceptual categories which are coming to them from variety of sources, and they're obviously processing it, and they're processing it in a very interesting way. And this movement was an evidence of that. They are politically very, very sharp and clever and wise, and able to mobilize and organize themselves and give it a direction and achieve their goal, and they succeeded. I mean, that's not an issue. I mean, why should that be an issue for every movement? If farmers are fighting for their own rights, they would raise issues related to farming. To expect from them that why are you not talking about neat paper leakage? Why should they be talking about it? So these are students. They had a very clear agenda. They have their opinions. The fact is that they did not allow them to get divided on Hindu-Muslim lines. That is what is critical for me as a sociologist, right? So that is a different subject. That's a different question. If they mobilize on questions of religious violence or religious division, then they would articulate in a particular manner, and then we can ask that question. Right now, we saw all of them fighting together, and it did not really matter who you were, whether you were a girl or a boy or a Sikh or a Hindu or a Muslim. You came from Ladakh or came from Maharashtra. You were a young person who was there as citizen of India. They are invoking Ambedkar's constitutionalism, that this is a country which should run as per the Constitution of India. And that itself, in some sense, answers the question. So you don't need to use that language, but when you're saying that Constitution needs to be given centrality, and all that is written in our Constitution. No, I mean, I don't think it will be an exceptional case. It's just the beginning. Right? The question of accountability, which people had stopped, the moment they say, you show us where did you get your money from for going abroad, they immediately said, you show us your degrees, or we need to audit PM fund. So these are questions which are now in public domain, and it will be hard for the regime to run away from those questions if they want legitimacy. If obviously they want to go a different direction, then obviously they will try their best, and let's see what happens. It's a very kind of open moment, and that opening has been provided by this movement. It's not missed opportunity at all.
For the opposition, I mean.
Yeah. Opposition parties did the right thing. They kept themselves away because immediately lots of people were suspecting that this is particular party's game, and we saw that was not really the case. If BJP kids were coming, Dipke also has a background, other people also have worked with AAP. But these people were not identifying with any political party, and they are now also saying we are not planning to have a political party, though they call it the Cockroach Janata Party. But I think that was a smart move. And also main opposition party, Congress, is pursuing the same question, same agenda, but they are not saying that this is our movement, or they are kind of, being part of a particular kind of politics. So I think that's a sensible thing to do, because translating into electoral politics is a different game altogether. For that, political parties will have to work in a very different manner. They can't expect that these movements would ensure that they come to power. So we don't really know what direction it will take. You need to give the tasks that institutions were earlier doing, they should do it. For example, in JNU, we had our own test, right? And after NTA came, they abolished JNU test.
Right.
JNU test was working very well.
Yeah.
And this has been working ever since JNU came into being. The University of Hyderabad also had, IITs have their own tests. So these institutions should have their own autonomy. And why should they be asked to kind of, centralize and then also pay money? And NTA is not a very well-functioning institution. Likewise, education is in concurrent list. So every state has their own institutional process. And it in order to become accountable, if you are sitting in a small district of West Bengal, who would you hold accountable? NTA, we don't really know. The question paper is being set in Maharashtra. Students are sitting in Assam.
Disconnect.
There is no connect. There is no system where people can actually say that, yeah, this is an authentic. And once you lose trust, you need a lot of effort to rebuild it. Like Indian students, Indian people trust UPSC, or they have trusted UPSC until now, or we trust IIT entrance exam, we trust IIM entrance exam. And that keeps people, in a sense, focused that, yeah, if I have not qualified, the problem lies with me, I'll prepare harder next time. But when you realize that, yeah, somebody's, or even if it is a myth or a rumor, that somebody is manipulating it somewhere, then you lose trust.
Exactly.
And once you lose the trust, then everyone will be on the street or, basically will go depressed. They are becoming citizens of India. They are becoming politically aware. They are recognizing that there are other challenges, things that we are talking about. For example, if they are talking about, that they have to protect their movement from Godi media, they are recognizing that there is media in India which is controlled by corporates,
right? And
the corporates in collaboration with the state. So there's a whole political economy of communication, political economy of exams. Education is becoming a big issue now.
Exactly.
Everyone is talking about education, higher education, quality of education. We've been talking about new education policy, but there's no involvement of students. They are the primary stakeholders. No involvement of even teachers and universities. The whole centralized system functions from one point. University Grants Commission used to have no say in the actual functioning of universities. Now everything comes from UGC and universities are asked to kind of recruit in a particular manner. Right. So that should be left to the institutions. The institutions have autonomy. The generation decide karegi. The generation.
No, but as an expert,
that is the starting point. I think no experts should suggest what kind of India do you want. I want an India which is in some
inclusive,
sense,
secular,
inclusive and secular, but more importantly also, in some sense, coordinating with everyone else.
Right.
People feel comfortable, they feel secure, they feel safe. Identities are there. I mean, I have my identity, you have your identity. Women and men are different. But that does not mean that when we go out to buy stuff, I have to be aware of my identity.
Right.
Or when I go to a theater, I need to look at who is sitting next to me and I need to be careful. Or when I'm traveling outside my city or town, I should be a little worried. So I think then there is no citizenship, then there is no country.
Right.
If we are saying that India is a country, then India is my homeland, then everywhere in India
sense of home should be there. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out very soon. I think it won't take very long. So at some level, as I said, it has opened up political space, like the manner in which Indian political system is working. People just, are making money in politics. You get elected and then you kind of sit in a marketplace. How much money can the ruling party give me? And I'm willing to go to their side.
Right.
This is not how democracy should function.
True.
So they are also now accountable to their own people. So if one is accountable, if elections are held, in a sense, whichever party wins, but they are accountable to their people. If constitution is the center, I don't mind party A or B in power, as long as they are following the norms which are agreed upon by everyone. So it doesn't matter. I'm not a political person. I don't contest elections. I do want to go out vote, but that doesn't mean that I will vote for the same party all the time.
Right.
If that party doesn't perform, then I'll shift my voting choice to another person. That's how democracies work, and that's how democracies should work, right? So I think at that level, things are, in some sense, opening up. and there are lots of things that still need to happen. And if it kind of spreads, because India is also a young country,
Right.
the number of people who are so-called Z generation or Alpha
Below 30,
generation,
below 35, yeah.
below 35, their number is very, very large, right?
Yeah.
And they are the ones who are going to be future of the country. So that's where this movement is a kind of source of hope for lots of people. And the new kind of language of politics that they have brought, new platforms of politics they have been able to popularize, they are going to make a difference. I don't really have any opinion on that. I would not have any opinion on that because it would depend on the kind of energy they are mobilizing. I don't know. I'm not an insider. I don't know anyone personally. I've not spoken to anyone. What I have seen is news media, and they are saying something. I don't really know if somebody has an agenda, because there are all kinds of things happen in politics and social life. So there are various interests also watching them, and they would also perhaps be kind of anxious how they engage with them. Politics is only one. I mean, people who are in power or political parties is just one actor. We also have a very powerful corporate sector,
Exactly.
the wealthy Indians. We also have the global politics, which also in some sense plays. Media has its own dynamics. People like you and me are talking about it. This perhaps should also have some influence.
No. It's
And
about
larger public opinion. So, if the world turns in a particular direction, we've seen that other countries also follow that direction. So I think it's not unique or exceptional to India at some level. So there is a larger global process, and that is what is different about the politics today. Because of social media, handles are being controlled from wherever, right? We know Instagram is also a kind of company, and that company also has its own economy
Interests.
and its own interests. So we don't really know how messages travel and how will they be manipulated, how algorithms will be set in the future, how much mind manipulation can happen successfully. So these are new processes, these are new kinds of dynamics. But one thing is very clear, that it's not as simple or as easy or as straightforward as some people may want to think. Even if they are able to buy Instagram, it would still
find a way out
in a different manner. Or young people, the new technology is just like a new environment,
new universe.
and this environment is available to everyone in one way or the other.